How about now?
We're gonna start over now.
Yeah, give us the thumbs up in chat. Is it working?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. My name is Jordan, with technical issues up the wazoo, and I am joined by my co-host Lucian over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Hello, Lucian. We've had 2 solo shows, and
Yes.
I like those, but apparently I get my sound settings all messed up.
Yes.
But we're back from outer space, and I'm here with that look upon my face. We're gonna talk about Dungeons and Dragons news. So sorry, guys, that we had just, I don't know what is going on with my audio, because it all sounds fine on my end. That's the problem with using things like Voice Meter Banana, is you route it and you can like route it perfectly, but there's no
your
like
headphones.
yeah, but there's no like preview. And so what I was doing is I was actually I think I don't know where that looping was coming from. I have to look it up. Yeah, we'll figure it out later. Anyway, we're back.
We're here.
We're a tabletop RPG talk show. We're going to talk about news and things that are happening in the world of tabletop RPGs, of which there are quite a few. And then we kind of round out the show talking about our personal games and things that we're working on. First of all, goodbye, September. It is the last day.
It's
of
gone.
September.
Yeah. It is crazy.
It is cold here now. It has just got really, really cold. I finally turned on the heater. I'm really excited for
I see a sweatshirt.
summer weather. This sweatshirt I did get from a Coheed and Cambria concert I went to, and that was exciting. It was very good to see Mr. Claudio on stage. He's one of my favorite bands. Which gets us into the October spooky month, and October is, I think, the perfect time to switch up whatever game you're playing for like a Halloween one-shot.
Like a new campaign start. I agree. October's a great month for the new campaign
It's a
start.
brand new campaign.
Let's just do it.
First in the news is Minecraft is now part of, or there's a Dungeons and Dragons DLC for Minecraft. I don't play Minecraft. I understand the appeal
Stop the
of it.
show. Hold on. Stop the show.
I understand the appeal of it because you can literally build anything. It's like Legos and three-dimensional spaces and stuff.
It's how my YouTube channel started, was Minecraft.
Yeah. And so what other Minecraft expansions has there been? Like DLC? Are there there must be tons, right?
Now you're putting me on the spot, because originally it was with the one-person developer who put out the game, and people played the alpha and the beta, and then the game that got released, and then he hired 1 or 2 more people, but it still was super small. And there's a contingent that remembers that as being Minecraft.
Okay.
And then Microsoft buys them, and obviously when Microsoft buys your company, that explodes the amount of people that are working on this now. And then now I know in the last couple years there have been other examples of Minecraft. Minecraft Dungeons comes to mind. I know there was some Telltale games for Minecraft stories.
Okay.
They put out a lot of updates that add new features, but I don't think they necessarily call them like DLC or anything until probably this past year, where we started to see a little bit more product placement type Minecraft. And again, I'm a little bit now out of the loop for the last couple of years, because I played a bunch.
I mean, it looks like there's
7 or 8.
Yeah, just going over their thing here. We have Haunted Hospital and Epic Weapons and Ore Golem. Like, there's all kinds of extra monsters and stuff I guess you can add.
Yeah, adding monsters is a big thing. Yeah.
They have a Mind Flayer. This is fun. So I don't. It says unlock this game for 1,510 M coins. So there must be like a marketplace that you exchange real money for the fake money to then buy stuff.
Sure.
Is what I'm guessing. But like, who knows? It could be really cool. I know Minecraft is awesome. It could be super awesome. So,
well, if you want to know, you can go over to the Dungeons and Dragons channel, because they also put a video up where they're talking to a couple of the developers from that.
Oh, cool.
So
don't do it now. You're watching us. Stop.
No, yeah, stop. Don't hit that button. And they talk about the challenges of bringing something that iconic to, because really that's 2 iconic genres. Like, I would say Dungeons and Dragons is to tabletop RPG what Minecraft is to computer gaming. Really, I mean, it's a a monolith of a thing. There's so many people that know it. There's so many YouTube channels that are built
a big
around
franchise,
it. So it's
or not
big.
franchise, but it's a name, Minecraft.
Yeah,
so.
it's a big thing. So bringing those two together is really, really big thing. Whereas, and I think the one thing they talked about is Minecraft was the sell was it was a virtual open world that built itself every time you started a new game. It was infinitely pre-generated, almost like, AI generated, but that wasn't really AI, but just like there's a seed and it generates, and then you go explore that world and you do that thing. Very open sandbox, very make your own story. No, in the beginning, no quests or anything to do. You just survive in this world. You just live, and you decide how you play. Is it about killing monsters? Is it about digging up ore? Is it about building? Is it about bringing a community together? You will see people that have built like the full world of Lord of the Rings, or you'll see people that have built sci-fi stuff or fantasy stuff. You'll see people that have taken it and turned it into what they call adventure maps, where it's like a theme park that you can go through and you're trying to find things and, complete the monument and all that kind of stuff. So it really was a game that allowed immense creativity, just like Dungeons and Dragons is a game that allows immense creativity when you're building your campaign and you're getting your party together and doing things. But bringing those two together, it's different because it's like sandbox meets camp, structured campaign. And then you like bring it to storytelling.
Well, that's the thing, is I think they
structure,
have like stories
NPCs.
and games and stuff. Yeah. But I think it's Dungeons and Dragons themed. I don't think you could I don't think it's designed to run Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's like, here's iconic D&D monsters, and then your character can be iconic D&D classes is kind of what I'm getting from it. But yeah,
because there is no class system in the regular part of it, right? It's just you're just whoever. But there are quests there, and there is a adventure kind of mode, so that you can add quests and you can have interaction with the world that exists. And they built the Dungeons and Dragons worlds, so you can go, I believe, to Waterdeep, from what I understood from the video. I haven't been in it yet. And you can go to these places, and they built the Sword Coast, right? They built the stuff that I think you can go to and check out. So
you adventure in Baldur's Gate with Larian Studios, and then you convert your character over to Minecraft to go to Waterdeep.
Exactly. Yeah. How fun. Yeah, exactly. So very interesting. The reason I wondered about it, too, is that the younger generation is huge into Minecraft. And I wonder if that's a nice pull to get younger generation into Dungeons and Dragons. Because I know right now, I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is probably marketed for still college and above, regular adults at this point. I don't know if they're specifically marketing to high school kids or middle school kids. I mean, would you think any of their marketing points to getting a bunch of middle schoolers to play?
I think they just want anyone to play, but there's a big emphasis with Wizards on like families playing together. Judging by my 14-year-old nephew, D&D is huge in middle school and high school.
Perfect.
So, and he was excited about this because he's also really enjoys Minecraft. So
that's what I was wondering.
As long as people are playing and getting the brand in that younger generation is important too for them, I think. So
yeah, and I think that's a touchstone, because I think that's where the game originally was targeted and marketed. I think that's where its popularity came from, was middle schoolers and high schoolers playing and enjoying it, and then growing up and still playing it and still keeping it in, bringing it to the forefront and not making it just a backroom basement kind of thing. We grew up with it, and now it's mainstream, right? It's not a stigma to be, oh yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I think they're just I don't know, reaching out. But yeah, you're right. It was we saw we're gonna see a lot more of those cross promotion things, like the Rick and Morty and the Stranger Things. And I think this one, there were also the Minecraft monsters that they released on D&D Beyond. I think way before this came out, but when it was announced. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start, going back and forth, and we'll see. I'm trying to think of what
I will definitely jump in it. I am going to jump in it. I'll bring back a report, on the field report from Sir Lucian is coming.
Live from Squareville.
Live from Waterdeep.
Waterdeep.
I'm here with the Black Staff. We want to find out about the statues that are guarding the town.
Heck
You know,
yeah.
like who knows what could be in there? Can I go to Myth Drainar? Can I go to, one of the Dales? Can I go to Cholt? I mean, what are we talking here? I'm excited to find out because
If you build it, they
imagine
will
that
come.
world realized, right? Yeah. And if you build it, you can wreck it in Minecraft. That was the other draw. Like you can dig everything up. Every block is destroyable. Everything is reconfigurable, removable, put it in another spot. So there's just a lot of. I love the idea of two very creative things coming together. So.
Yeah. Planescape is their latest product, which is funny. I have not heard much about Phandelver and Below, which I know that they're really pushing this 3-box set for the Christmas and things like that. It's coming out late October, I think. So it makes sense, but I don't know. Phandelver came and went, and we were all excited about the obelisks, and now I don't think anybody's obelisk excited anymore.
I think because it was an adventure, though, it's hard to do a bunch on it without spoiling it, right? Because it's an adventure.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what are you going to talk about really versus a book that's here's new mechanics, here's new stuff, here's a new place. That's not spoiler, but an adventure is clearly, like, what can we talk about?
And Planescape is so beloved, and Phandelver might be as well, but you're right, it's an adventure. So, but we're getting lots of cool stuff. They have, they said they were doing a big emphasis on the gate towns, which are the towns that lead to the outer planes on the Outlands, which is the center disc of Planescape. And it's funny. So I found on the internet, thanks to Drunken Yoda, he sent us this on our Discord or on the Discord, but he found a copy of the, one of the books, cause it's 3 books. And this looks like it's the one all about Sigil and the Outlands. And it's 96 pages, it says, but the Outlands themselves, all of the gate towns are page 60 to 92. And so there's information there, but you've got 16 things. So I guess you're getting like 2 pages a town, which is pretty good. And then other parts of the Outlands. So I was really excited for this. Another part of the not index, the title, contents, table of contents, was they have a whole bunch of information on Sigil, life in Sigil and portals, but they have a few things about the Lady of Pain and the mazes, which is where you can get caught in the mazes and die forever lost. They also have, and we talked about this last week, I talked about this last week, but they have the factions of Sigil, and those are mostly the same. Somebody in chat pointed out that the Dustmen are now called the Heralds of Dust. And I don't know why. Maybe it just sounds better than Dustmen.
I mean, it sounds epic. Heralds of Dust. That sounds cool.
But the Hands of Havoc, I don't remember those as well. I think there's been a couple of changes. I need to go look at it.
More emphasis on these names.
Yeah. So those are fun, but they also gave us some recruitment posters for the different factions. So if you go to D&D Beyond, you can see those recruitment posters. They're kind of cool, and you can download them and stuff. And then there was like a whole section on D&D Beyond on like how to create your own faction, which I was like, no, because the Lady of Pain specifically has kept the factions at a finite number because she doesn't want chaos.
And no dungeon master will come in here and ruin
They're never going to ruin my game. Get out of
right.
here. That's what it is. But yeah, so they talk about Gate Warden. And then backgrounds. So there's new backgrounds and new feats and stuff. And they talk about spells and magic items in the videos, but also they're here on the table of contents. I think it's gonna be a nice, safe Planescape, which is fine. That's what people want. I'm going to be excited for the updated art and the 5e conversions so that I don't have to do them on myself. But it's one of those things where I'm going to look at this before it comes out, before I buy it. I want it to come out and really, really look at it and say, is this something that I need, knowing that I already own a bunch of Planescape books?
I was wondering that too. How much of this might be newer stuff that you'll be able to go, oh, now I can do a video on this and really dive deep because there's expanded knowledge versus this is knowledge we already knew, just written in the new book for maybe somebody that didn't have the old books, but it's still not new knowledge, right? It's not adding to what we've already known. I wonder.
Yeah.
They do have some cool faction sounds on Doomguard, Bleak Cabal,
The Bleak
Fraternity
Cabal,
of Order.
Yeah, and now I'm looking at
Mercy Killers.
because I was really curious. The Mercy Killers, yeah, those are those. So the Chaos Men, that must be the Hands of Havoc, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Society of Sensation, the Sign of One. We don't have the Sign of One, so I don't know. But
to figure out what the
I'm trying to see like what
matrix.
changed, or Believers of the Source. That's not there either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, there were 16. In the original Planescape, there were 16 factions, and now there's only 12. So we lost 4 somewhere. I don't know.
They've been taken over. On that screenshot that you sent for our notes, and it shows Sigil, and it's like a little map there.
Yep, that's the
Is that how you always imagine it? Because I always imagined that it just was the city of Doors was just out in space. I don't know why I always just thought it was just like in the multiverse, like in a vacuum of its own, and it was just the city that just sat there on the Taurus, but like nothing else around it. I didn't realize there was land below it and a big pillar of something rising up to it. I had never understood that.
So
I didn't know that.
When Monty Cook was helping define this and stuff, there's a lot of like math play in Planescape, and the idea that you have this infinite flat plane, and that's the Outlands, and there's mountains and stuff, but you know what I mean, like a disc.
Yeah.
And then the center points, the center rises up, and it's one of those where it never comes together to a point, but it will always get half a step closer. So it's like infinitely going up and infinitely getting closer. And Sigil is the Taurus that if it ever did touch, it would like invert itself around. And so that ring, that donut is Sigil. And there's actually a really cool hand drawing by like some fan of Planescape where he drew the lower planes attached to the Outlands and the point rising up infinitely, and then it kept going and spread out on the top, and then the top are the goodly plane gate towns. And it's like, but we can't, our brains, our human monkey brains can't really understand how all of this works. But it's that idea that, I don't know, there's like a different plane of existence that we're not able to be aware of, kind of a thing. And
a fifth plane, fourth plane,
or something, you know, like the
Dimension.
13 dimensions or something like that. Yeah. And so, but they're changing Sigil from what I think is that it used to be a closed Taurus, and the city was on the inside. So if you're in Sigil, you can't look out and see the Outlands below you.
Right.
But if you're in the Outlands, you can look up and see this weird donut in the sky. But it looks like they're kind of changing that it's going to be more open in areas. I'm not really sure. I'm curious about that as well. Okay. But yeah. And then it's interesting because the gate towns are there. And if you go past the gate towns, you stay in the Outlands, but it's just an infinite expanse of nothingness. Like, really, it is tied here because of, I don't know, reasons. And so you could walk 3 days east past Automata or whatever, past Glorium and blah, 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 a gate town, and then turn around and the gate town is 5 minute walk back, you know, because just how, I don't know, it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey kind of a thing. So,
well, in one of the videos I watched on the D&D channel, the YouTube channel, they had said something that was interesting. I was going to ask you about it because they said the gate towns are a representation of where they lead back to, but it has to be off enough, because if it's too exact of that plane that it points to, then that town gets consumed and is back in the plane that exists, and a new town or a new version of that that's slightly off. It can't be. It has to have enough of a difference that
It has
can
to be
exist
like
here.
if you're if you're good, you have to be evil enough to not be
There
part
has
of
to be
that
some
goodly
evil.
realm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is true. And it's a delicate balance with the gate towns, and they're trying to figure it out because really what changes is the gate. So if the town becomes too lawful and gets pulled into Mechanus, all it means is that the gate moved. And then it's like, well, we had a whole industry on shipping goods with this gate. Now we have to rebuild the town over there, kind of a thing. So yeah, they try to keep it kind of in balance. So.
And that's the premise of the adventure I think they give you with the 3-box set is finding out about one of these gate towns. So either a gate has moved or something has happened to the gate town, and you get to kind of explore a little bit. So that sounds very interesting to me too, as a box set adventure to go in and kind of learn a little bit more about that. This feels like one I would try to play with players, want to play in or run for players, because it's not just me making up what's going on and why have I sent, like in Rod of Seven Parts, you sent them to Sigil on purpose, right? You wanted to go there. You wanted to explore that with your party.
Yeah.
But that was and then you thought up of all the cool things that would happen while they're there. But this is like you're really interacting with like a box set adventure that's taking you there now.
Yeah, well, cool. What I was running was the Great Modron March, which is a lot of they started in Sigil, but really they are going to gate town because during the Great Modron March, all of the Modrons pour out of Mechanus, the gate town of Mechanus, and they start marching the plains, and a lot of that is going through the gate towns to get to those plains, because there's not a direct route from the Abyss to the Nine Hells or something like that. So there is, but that was a bad example. Anyway, but no, it's like Planescape's so cool. It's so cool. And here, I don't know if you know this because you didn't know that about the Outlands. So magic on the gate town area, the outer ring, works completely fine, but every step or every time you get closer to the spire at the center, magic works less and less and less. So your 9th level spells work fine on the gate towns, but if you go in, you can now only cast up to 8th level spells. And then when you get even further, you can only cast up to 5th level spells and your magic items stop working. And if you get further further, and if you get all the way to the spire, no magic works whatsoever. And it can be a place where angels and devils can meet on like common ground because nobody has power there. It's like neutral altogether. So nobody really climbs the spire. Nobody tries to get to Sigil by climbing it and trying to touch the spire or trying to touch the Taurus at the top, like because it's so unsafe. There's no magic. And the other really cool thing is there's like a weird race of creatures that live there, and they're never disturbed because nobody wants to go to the center of the Outlands. And so there's not much written about them. They're just these weird semi-humanoid creatures that kind of look like Gollum, I think, from Lord of the Rings. And they're very peaceful. They kind of just like hang out there. That's a good question. Cole Van Soak asked if psionics work at the Spire. And I don't know, because psionics was definitely a big part of Dark Sun. I think less of a part of Planescape. So I don't know if they included
not
psionic
really in
rules,
5e yet, right? We haven't got an official 5e.
We haven't got
psionics
in 5e, yeah, no. So, but in 2nd edition, psionics my point was psionics would have been part of the 2nd edition game by the time Planescape came out.
Gotcha.
But I don't know if they address that. I'll have to. That's a good video topic. I'll start with a question in my video. Do psionics work in Planescape? And they'll be like, what? But like, I mean, Planescape's cool. Like, it's a really cool game. So
yeah. So are you getting this box set? Is this one that you're going to
well, I was saying I was going to wait
and
see, because I have a lot of the 2E Planescape books, and part of me is like, do I need all of that information again? Is it worth it to have the box set? Who knows? Maybe it is. So it might be fun.
It sounds good.
Might be fun. Yeah, it sounds like it could be a lot of fun. So there's they released some new character options and stuff. So we talked about that. Some of the new feats and things you can get. So that emphasis
Very
on your background allows you to get certain feats that kind of complement your background that they're pushing with this revision of 5e that's coming out. So, but yeah,
maybe we'll get a DLC for Baldur's Gate 3 that takes us to Planescape at some point. Like we go through a door and we're in Sigil.
I would doubt that just because the massive amount of work, but like, I mean,
they are not afraid of taking on massive amounts of work. That's what we
Planescape
realized.
Torment was a very popular video game, and if they want to follow up with Baldur's Gate 3 with Planescape Torment 2, that would be pretty badass.
That would be interesting. Larian can take it on. I put that in our notes just as a little, because I know you had been playing, and I know, have you completed it with a character yet? Have you started like several other campaigns with other characters to see what's happening in your Baldur's Gate playthroughs, or how's that going with you?
I have finished it. It was awesome. It was good. And then now that I'm done with it, I was hoping for like a new game plus where I could kind of have all my spells
Starfield
and stuff and play around, but you can always go back to your previous save and run around Baldur's Gate, but it's hard to go to previous acts. I don't think I can go back to like Act 1 or 2 with my level 12 character. So I ended up starting a drow rogue to kind of play the game again as not a wizard, as not like a magic caster.
Full spell caster, yeah.
And then I wanted to try a different path and different options and stuff. So he actually turned level 5 last night when I was playing. And
nice.
It's still a really fun game. But now that I finished the story, I'm not playing it as manically as I was. So.
Right. And are you exploring more of the side stuff now because you went in the main game kind of straight through, or did you explore a lot of the side stuff even in your first playthrough?
I think I explored a lot of the side stuff on my first playthrough.
Okay.
So, Mo Peach says I can use the quick travel to go back. Well, there you go. I should try that out and see, explore some of those earlier areas.
And you'd give it 2 thumbs up. Great game. One of the better games you've bought this year.
Well, I don't buy a lot of video games.
Sure.
Because I usually wait for them to go on super sale. So this is
the first game I bought. List?
This is the first game I bought like full price, new day of release, and it's been fun. And like the patches have made things a lot better. It's really good. So I mean, 10 out of 10. I would recommend if you're listening to this, if you like Dungeons and Dragons, you'll probably like it. It's really fun. There's lots of stuff to explore. There's different ways to go. Like my drow rogue that I'm playing right now, I definitely am leaning more heavily on the mind flare, like psionic side of it. And so I'm getting kind of like all these cool new abilities that I didn't have. And so, and I'm using different people in my party so that I am getting different storylines because
I'm doing that in Starfield where I played through once and it had certain companions I used. And then the other one, I was like, well, how does it play differently if I do this other way? And what I was wondering is kind of leading to it. There is another game out that's been highly praised, which is the Pathfinder kind of version of this grand adventure, Wrath of the Righteous. And I was wondering, now that you played this, you loved it, the game's pretty good. You've heard a lot of people have said this game's great. And I think a lot of those same people have said, hey, this other game's great. Do you feel like you have an interest to go check out the Pathfinder version? Kingmaker wasn't as people. There's a group that liked it, but it had a lot of problems. But I know Wrath of the Righteous, a lot of people said this is really good and on kind of the same level of a Baldur's Gate.
I like these isometric RPGs. I always have. I guess this isn't an isometric. Maybe it is. It's really 3D. So I don't know if Baldur's Gate 3, but it fits that
they
style.
Call it like the classic CRPGs. Yeah.
So I like them because I love Neverwinter Nights. I played 1 and 2 and stuff. So I would be interested. And like Pillars of Eternity was one that I was very interested in, and I own and I haven't played. But I think I'd actually be more interested in going back and playing Baldur's Gate 1 again. And then I should probably play 2. I don't think I ever started 2, now that I think about it. I'm trying to think of the plot of 2, and I can't do it. So I should probably go back and do that. But the Icewind Dale, they have another... Icewind Dale has one and stuff. So I think that would be where I would go first, before trying... So
it's still the D&D version is just still where the interest
mostly lies. Because I love the world. Like, it was fun to walk around Baldur's Gate and all these gods that I know about and characters and Elminster and stuff. So...
Very cool. I bought it when it kickstarted originally, or when it did the preview.
Access.
I did and they let us play the first kind of chapter, but I think it's changed some too.
Yeah.
I've had all these other games I've been playing recently. It's on my list to say, okay, it's time to dive in. I'm just trying to get through a few of the other ones to play through. And I think want to do a wizard playthrough, because the wizard's one of my favorite classes. So
it's funny. You need a lot of money because unlike every other spellcasting class, you find a lot of scrolls, which is cool, because if you ever run out of spell slots, you can use all your scrolls to cast spells. But in order to learn them, you got to learn them. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Shell out the money.
Yeah. You have to have a lot of money just to learn spells.
All right.
But
very cool.
Yeah, and I think the playthrough after this one, if I ever do another one, will be, well, characters I still want to play is I want to do a Tome Warlock. I think that would be really fun, and just really focus on cantrips and see if I can make cantrips like really powerful and useful. And then I should. Well,
my original was Ranger, because I wanted to see how.
And then I wanted to do a Beastmaster Ranger. That was the other one.
That's what I was playing. Yeah.
But yeah, sorcerers.
Druid sounded cool.
There's little changes that are interesting from base 5e. Like my rogue is a thief. I did the thief subclass, and I think the thief subclass has like fast hands in D&D 5e, and so you get extra things to do with your bonus action, but they translated that into giving you 2 bonus actions, which I remember Jeremy Crawford saying, like, don't make magic items that give more than 1 bonus action, because it's a very slippery slope kind of thing of overpoweredness. And I thought that was really interesting, but it's like, but in a video game, it really does work. But it's kind of fun because I can main attack and then I can attack twice with my offhand, or I can main attack and then I can disengage and then I can dash, because I have 2 bonus actions, and I like it. So. Or
you feel like you're stealthing around more, sneaking around more
this
with
playthrough,
the rogue?
Yeah, because you need advantage in order to get sneak attacks. So I do a lot of stealth, but and I'm pickpocketing and things like that, and you want to stealth if you do that. So no, it's a great game. It's super fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So
works great on the Steam Deck too, right? That's how you've been playing it.
It is playable on the Steam Deck. It is not. Your battery will die very, very fast, and the graphics are not the best. But I have been streaming it to my Steam Deck from my computer, because I usually am just upstairs hanging out with my family.
Oh yeah, and it's turn-based, so you're not trying to twitch things. Yeah. I could see it working in a streamed really great, version,
and I love it. Yeah, I use Moonlight, and I stream it over the internet or over my home Wi-Fi, and it's great. Cool. There you go, Modiphius.
A great company. Love
Modiphius released an expansion for their Fallout tabletop RPG, which I remember this was a big deal when it came out. The Fallout tabletop. I think the Fallout video games were like on the rise, or I'm trying to remember, but it was pretty big. I have not read it or anything, but I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So this expansion is all about creating settlements, which was really cool. So
that's big in the last game they released, Fallout 4, I think is what it is.
So it's the Settler's Guidebook, and it's all about like making your own, I don't know, Commonwealth, like kind of like
cool.
Yeah, and so it kind of feels like, okay, you've played the base game of D&D. Here's how you build, or here's Stronghold and Followers in a way, you know. But instead, you're building your post-apocalyptic settler book or place to live. It's up for pre-order for like $36, so like, I don't know, Modiphius does good stuff, and that seems like a very reasonable price if you're into the Fallout universe. I thought I would bring that back.
I noticed them talking about on their page they were doing some more lower deck stuff, because I think it's been popular enough that they're continuing doing more lower deck stuff, and I'm like, that is such a campaign that I think would be great for like you were talking about a couple shows ago, where 5 or 6 session, it doesn't have to be a big long campaign, not necessarily a one shot, but maybe close to it or in the middle of those two things. And then Lower Decks is definitely one of those that I think would be great. And then the other one I was mentioning many moons ago, many months, I kept telling you I was playtesting the game, but I was under an NDA. that I couldn't talk about, and I was playtesting. Well, that's up on their site now. It's called Dreams and Machines. I didn't know if you saw this one or if you thought it might be interesting, because it does have large robots involved, and I know what kind of large robot kick you're on at the moment.
I heard about it. I heard that it was kind of like, is it Horizon Zero Dawn? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
that's a good description.
Kind of primal, but there's still robots, and people are trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the world is like super in the future. Everything has gone terribly. People are starting to come back out of being like hunted, or we're down to just the who survived. But they're also uncovering what technology was out there, and the danger of, if we wake them up again, does the apocalypse start to happen again, or can it be controlled now, or can we use it to our benefit, or is it still just going to tear us down or whatever? So it's that interesting time frame of low technology is rediscovering high technology, and then there's just these, and they have some pictures and some artwork of just cool giant fighting robots. And I'm just like, yes.
I think that's why it reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn, because I was playing that when I saw that the
2D20 system. That's very familiar. So if you played their Star Trek system or any of their 2D20 systems, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to pick this up pretty quick if you're interested. So I thought it was really interesting. I enjoyed the playtest. I thought the playtest was fun and well ran. I'm interested to see. I might pick this up when it goes on sale.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's been a running theme in the book that I'm reading too, where it's like it's in the future and people have space travel, but they always are trying to find like ancient tech. But there's this fear of like, if we activate this, will we be able to understand it? / will it take over our whole ship because it's so advanced that we don't know how to stop it, kind of a thing. And I thought that's kind of I don't know, it's a fun trope, I guess. So
definitely, yeah, you see it in a lot.
Evil Genius Games,
Great name.
I'm not super familiar with them, but they are the epitome of let's make RPGs with licensed properties. So they have gotten the license to do the following. They made an RPG based on The Crow, Escape from New York, Pacific Rim, Rambo. And so this is what they do.
Well, can I add to that? They made a role-playing game called Everyday Heroes, and then they have these books that are all of these movie franchises that attach to that game that's called Everyday Heroes that they've created.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they kind of specialize in this, is what it feels like to me, because that's like they have their base game, they have this. So and this is how out of touch I am with stuff this month, but Rebel Moon is a Zack Snyder sci-fi movie. Is it out on Netflix?
It's a Netflix show. I don't think it's out, or I'd be watching it, but show? It's a Netflix show as far as I understood. I didn't think it was going to be a movie. I thought it was going to be a series, a Netflix original series, but I could be wrong. It looked cool. I've seen some visuals of it, and it looks great.
Zack Snyder is behind this, and the summary of it is Rebel Moon. It's very sci-fi, and it says, when a peaceful settlement on the edge of a distant moon finds itself threatened by the armies of a tyrannical ruling force, a mysterious stranger living among its villagers becomes their best hope for survival. This is Netflix. I'm not sure when it comes out. I'm just kind of looking at the IMDb here. But Evil Genius Games has been working with Zack Snyder directly and Netflix to make a tabletop RPG tie-in for Rebel Moon. And from their perspective, Evil Genius says that they're like, hey, we were contracted to make this. And they said they've made like, a 230-page world Bible, a 430-page player guide, and a 340-page game master's guide. And it was like they sent it to Netflix for kind of like approval and art review and things, because it is a product for Netflix. And Netflix said, we're canceling the project and we're keeping everything you wrote for us. Now, keep in mind, when you talk about a world Bible, like they're expanding upon that world. And now Netflix, if they have that world Bible, can be like, okay, well, yeah, if we go over here to this other moon, it's all been hashed out here. We can just use some of this. And it's one of those kind of it feels like a really scummy thing that a big corporation would do, where they're like, we don't actually want to buy your intellectual property. We want to just kind of inherit it. And so we're going to take
and not release it.
Yeah. And so they're not releasing the game. Netflix said the game is canceled. And they said that everything that you worked on, everything that was worked on is now ours. Even though we're not going to release it, which is just crap because they're going to sit on it and use it for something else. And Evil Genius said no. And Netflix is a big company to sue, so it's kind of spooky for them to do this, but they're going to go to court, I guess, because they haven't been, they said that they haven't been paid for their work fully. Like, the work that we've did, you guys didn't pay us fully, just kind of things like that. So there's money involved. And then they want to just release the game. But they also said, like, we wrote it, like, it's our ideas. It's not your intellectual property. So, so that's,
yeah, I got an email from, because I backed this Kickstarter, and it was from Todd Scott, who is the Evil Genius CEO.
Okay.
And he sent to all the people that backed it and all the customers of Evil Genius. He's like, hey, dear valued customer, goes on to talk about what's happened. And then there's like, they have the sign our petition. They're asking people to, post in social medias like hashtag give them credit, hashtag release the game, Rebel Moon Blues. And then they're saying tag in Evil Genius Games, Netflix, and Zack Snyder all at the same time, because they're really trying to get a groundswell movement of enough people to say, hey, there's enough of an audience out here that wants you just to let them release it. Will you do it or will you not? So they're pulling it all out. So a lawsuit, they're going to all of the, the customers of the Kickstarter that did this. And I don't remember Rebel Moon being announced when they did the Kickstarter, because they did announce all these other IPs that they had bought, like Rambo and The Crow and Escape from New York. Pacific Rim was the one I got that I was really the most interested in, because I thought, oh, Pacific Rim could be a really cool game to play in. But I don't remember Rebel Moon being in there. But if I'd have known, I'd be like, yeah, give me the Rebel Moon one, because it's supposed to be like Zack Snyder's Star Wars, as far as I understood. It's like his version of a Star Wars world.
Chat's saying that the initial release will be December 22nd. So that's why we haven't seen Rebel Moon on Netflix yet.
Thanks, Chat.
And then also, it is Zack Snyder's Star Wars, in that he submitted this to Lucasfilm, and when it wasn't picked up, he rewrote it to strip out all the Star Wars stuff.
He's like, I'll do my own.
But another interesting thing is, Sky points out that Adam Conover talked about it on the Writers Guild strike. And that now that I think about this, if you're Netflix and you're unwilling to pay your writers because of the Writers Guild strike, or I don't have writers currently working for me, why don't I get this game design company to write me a lore Bible for my show, and then I can just appropriate it? And that makes a lot more sense. I could see them being like, oh yeah, this is how we'll subvert our writers strike, because they're not writing for the show, they're writing for a game, but we can use it for both. I don't like that. So, boo Netflix, boo big companies.
There is a big article on Gizmodo that a reporter kind of goes into depth, and it did kind of some of the research on the whole story. So if you're really interested in, how it started, where it's at, where it's going, there's a pretty good article out there you can find.
Down with Netflix. Down with the Empire. Yeah. So what's happening in the world of Paizo? I saw some cool Starfinder stuff that I wanted to talk about, but.
Definitely. But, well, everything's happening in Paizo, because they're also in the midst of lots of playtesting.
Yeah.
They're in the midst of doing some revisions for their games, smartly not calling it, 6E, or doing, changing their OGL or anything that just like drives the community crazy. They're doing it in the way that you would expect to do it, very open, very in a way that's going to promote the community, not kick them out or get them not to be excited about it. And what I liked about was they are talking about 2 new classes. They are kind of like divine based kind of classes called the Animist, and I wrote down what was the other one. I'll get back to my notes here as I was in the other page. Animist, and then the Exemplar. So I thought those were kind of cool ideas. The Exemplar is about channeling divine energy into items, and then that's what's empowering you. So I thought, okay, so you're getting
it's like a divine artificer in a way, maybe.
It's like, Yeah, something like, yeah. So I was thinking, yeah, you're feeding all of that divine energy into a sword or into a bow or into something else that makes that character kind of interesting. And then the animist is about cycling in the divine and supernatural energies of creatures, and then being able to connect with them or use them in some ways. And I'm in my head, I went to like ghosts or specters or things, and somehow your class ties into maybe getting some of those abilities or being able to use that kind of stuff. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. But they have a play test out there right now that you can dive into, their Pathfinder 2E stuff. You can go to Demiplane, which is really now, if you're big into Pathfinder 2E and you're trying to learn it, Demiplane, I think, is the place to go. Just like if you were trying to learn D&D 4 years ago, going to D&D Beyond was such a great tool to understand, well, how do I create a character and the rules work right and you're not just guessing if you did it right or not. It's like the character builder actually lets you do things or doesn't let you do things if you're not allowed to do them. So that's really cool. And I think right now Demiplane's in that place now that it can be just as useful as it was D&D Beyond is, for this Pathfinder 2 now. So I'm excited to kind of play it. My party that wants to play a new game, this is later in the show when we talk about that stuff, they were really set on playing D&D 5e, and I was just like, in the back of my head, I was like, you guys sure you don't want to play Pathfinder 2e? Because I'd love we could try it all to learn together. And I was like, and I love D&D, and I'm playing a 5e campaign, but I was like, are you sure you don't want to try one of these on the game? Maybe down the road, they'll let me run them a different game besides D&D 5e. D&D 5e is still popular with kids. I don't know. So...
Yeah.
How about your interest in? I know you like your Starfinder interest, but has your Pathfinder 2e interest ever peaked or increased or decreased?
I feel like playing the crunchy game is great. A lot of people love the crunchy game. I feel like I got enough of crunch and enough of like builds and things like that with D&D 5e that I just went in a different direction, and I really am enjoying the OSR more. So like if I'm going to start playing something new, it's not going to be a more difficult 5e, if that makes sense. And I don't know, I like 5e at this point. I know it. There has been some people at my Friday night gaming group at the game store. And they have Pathfinder available, but I would definitely play it, but I don't have this need of like, oh man, like I did with, I guess back in the day, or even Dungeon Crawl Classics. I'm like, I need to play this. And so I wanted to like run, and I'm like, I'm going to run it. And so with Pathfinder, I'm like, I'll play it, but like, I don't have a need to run it, I guess. So,
because I think for, lore videos, the world they have that goes around this Glorian, boy, I bet you'd have a huge stock of videos to go through if you tackled that world and started doing lore videos on that.
No, and I mean, think about somebody told me once, they're just like, what, like you should just be the lore guy, don't be the D&D lore guy. Because they're like, cover like Game of Thrones or cover this, and I was like, do you know how much work that would be to become like a pseudo expert on all of these different fandoms? Like, I don't know if I can do that, guys, but you're right. Like, I think for Glorion and Pathfinder, I don't need to play Pathfinder, but I think I would need to play in that world, to really get a feel for it. Midgard's another one. Kobold Press has their campaign setting of Midgard, and I was like, it's great. There's lots of cool, useful stuff in there. It's a lot, And so we were just talking about Planescape. That was a lot. And that's because I was able to play a Planescape game and lots of reading and lots of going through, and that got me like a few videos. So I don't know. But I was curious about Starfinder Enhanced, which is basically the 2e version of Starfinder. They're kind of polishing it up.
That's what I'm hoping.
And I also don't have a super interest in Starfinder, but I thought this was cool. One of the ancestries you can play is a hologram. And I was like, what? And I loved that idea because I love Star Trek and things like that. I thought that was kind of cool, like the Doctor from Star Trek. And so you're actually like a core in your chest is the picture of, and that emits a hard light projection that is your character. So you can kind of change what you look like all the time, but you do look like a hologram is what they were kind of saying. but you can change your size and shape, or you can turn it off and just be a floating metal box that only can use like mind powers or something. Like you can't physically interact with stuff unless you turn on your hard light appearance. And I was just like, oh man, right away, that's what I would play in a heartbeat. I just think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
So I was
that's
looking
like
at that
playing
and
an
I'm like,
ooze.
as
soon as you hear ooze, you're like, oh, I want to play that.
Yeah, the ooze race and Spelljammer, I was like, so cool. So I thought it was just really, I don't know, I just found that cool, and I was really excited for it. So, other little
I'm excited for it because I hope they streamline those rules so they're a bit easier. And I think if they become a bit easier and a tiny bit less crunchy, I think it would be more popular. And then I would hope that I get to play it or even run a campaign in it, because I did have a hard time trying to dive into it and figure it all out. I was having some trouble, but I'm hoping that with this enhanced version, they're kind of cleaning all that little rough edges up and it'll turn into a really fantastic game to play. So I'm hoping.
Just in news, Goodman Games had a warehouse transfer, so a lot of their shipping was delayed, but now DCC 100 is fulfilling and going out to people. Which is the 100th adventure that Goodman Games has put out. And it's a doozy. It's got like moving map parts that come with it and stuff. It was really cool. So if you kickstarted that, that's going to come out soon. And then randomly, David Somerville, who is the author of Pangea, he created Pangea. We've been talking about Pangea. He must have
back on the show.
He must have heard something because he's like, what? Pangea? So he started messaging us in the Kickstarter or in the Discord. And said, I really like that you're starting a Pangea game. He's like, you should definitely do Pangea lore videos. And I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. He's just a really creative, kind of cool guy. Well, then he messaged me and he's like, well, I don't want to like shill out my stuff, but I thought I'd let you know that I have a new Kickstarter. And this is for a sci-fi 5e setting called Prismatics. And this is interesting because it is a campaign setting on a poster. And so I really like the idea of trying to get there was an RPG a while ago that was part of a record. So you bought this record that would go in a record player and you would put it down and you would play it, but all the fold out insert stuff was the map and things. So you had a soundtrack playing while you played. And so the idea of putting a game design in non-traditional spaces intrigues me. And so this I thought was cool enough to bring up because Prismatics, it's a 5e campaign setting on a poster. And so
instead of like a 1-page game or a 1-page RPG or a 1-page campaign, it's a poster
movie
campaign.
Poster. Yeah, it's just a giant movie really poster. Fun. And he made this setting and it's all there. And so, I mean, I imagine you'll get a digital version of it and you'll try to like, I don't know, but I just thought that was a really clever idea. And I don't know anything about Prismatics. It could be the coolest sci-fi setting ever. Maybe it's not. If I know David, it's probably pretty badass.
I'll give you the catch line. 1,000 astounding worlds of space opera and sorcery unfold in this space opera setting for 5e, emanating from the mystical mists of a forbidden nebula.
There you go. So I put the link in chat. You guys can check it out. Yeah.
I like the infinity sign that's kind of prominent there, but it looks like it must be it just draws your eyes to the artwork. And it's like, oh, what's going on here? What's this? And it looks like some hexes in there, maybe some hex-based stuff going on.
Yeah, I think so.
We should have him on the show to talk about it because he was super interesting when we got to talk to him about Pangea.
He'd probably love to be back. He's probably listening. And he's like, yeah, I'll be back. So
I'll come back on.
We'll talk to him. That ends in like 25 days. So, but if you're interested, it's pretty cool and it's funded. I don't think he was looking for a huge amount of money for this. But it's just kind of like a curiosity. I thought that was really cool.
I'd put it up
because
on
like
my
a
wall
lot of
for
people
sure.
are making like Skate Wizards. The RPG came with a cassette tape and things like that. Like I like this transcending mediums with RPGs. I think that's kind of a cool idea. And I never really thought about like a poster. Like you always hear about the 1-page RPGs and stuff like that. So, I think we could probably skip our discussion. We were just going to talk about horror games because Halloween's here, but maybe
look at the time. I totally wasn't even watching the time.
I'll make a couple of them. Well, we started late too because of the sound issues, but I'll make a couple of choices for Halloween games. I like the idea of that.
I will just mention next Friday I'm kicking off a brand new campaign. So I feel like next Friday I'll have much more interesting things to talk about as far as running a game and playing games. So next week's what have you been doing in gaming? And then
what is the setting? We don't need to end just yet because we started late. So I wanted to ask you like about your new game. Like you're starting it up. Yeah. Where's it going to go? Yeah. So
I put them in. I told them to create level 1 characters. I told them to keep the characters fairly young for whatever group they are, because they're just now decided to stop doing whatever they were going to do, and they're going to become adventurers, whatever that means. So they weren't adventurers before, but they are going to be now, and they've somehow got it in their head, either through stories or just local knowledge, that adventurers go to Waterdeep. So they're like young people who have stopped doing whatever they're doing. They're just like, I heard we're supposed to go to Waterdeep. Like, hey, I heard you go to LA to become a movie star or whatever. So I'm just going to go. So like, we're just going to Waterdeep. So I said, just make your way to Waterdeep, and they could just do that. And we're going to start. The first session is them getting to the gates of Waterdeep and what that means. And it was really funny in session 0 because I gave them the rules of Waterdeep, which you can find in lots of different areas. And I was like, here's the laws that they hand you as you're walking into the gate. And they're like, what? There's laws? What's going on? And these seem really crazy, and it's pretty structured in Waterdeep. But I still think what I want to do is I want to make it feel like it's a normal game, like it's an almost, hey, you guys meet in a tavern and you're going to be adventurers and you're going to go on your first quest. But then I just want to drop a bomb on it and just go big, because I don't think I've ever in any of my campaigns just tried to upside down the whole world in the very first session. I've always been very traditional. You guys meet in a tavern, you get some quests, somebody sends you out to do something, you go out and you do things. And then things might get more crazy or more interesting or more, but starts out pretty mundane. And I'm thinking I want to flip it a little bit. A little bit. Matt Colville did this with his campaign, and he talked about in a lot of his running game advice series on his YouTube is about, just dropping that big moment, that big thing right in the very beginning that just kind of blows their expectations out of the water, and then bring it back and say, okay, now what do you guys do? Or now how do you handle this?
You should start, I was thinking of Alien. You should start, they're all sitting around the table eating food,
and then
somebody starts convulsing and a giant monster bursts out of the chest of somebody, and they have to fight
a mind flayer. Yeah, a mind flayer. Well, I was thinking of like the opening, although they played Baldur's Gate, so I can't use that. I wanted to get a group who had never seen the Baldur's Gate opening, because the idea of that they could be sitting there walking down the alley, and then
a giant
ship appears, and the dragons are chasing it, and then smashing through the town, and then it takes off. I just thought, that's that would be a cool visual to give somebody who hasn't seen it yet. But
maybe Sahagin rising up from the ocean to retake the land or something.
Cthulhu,
something like that,
coming from that. So I'm going to drop a big bomb on them, or even like Planebreaker. That's one of the things about the Planebreaker campaign book. It talks about it appears a giant planet, just boom,
a
it's
big
there,
asteroid moon in the sky. That actually could be really cool. So
that is my idea. Okay, didn't mean to go too far over, but I think next week it should be pretty interesting because we're playing on Friday night. So I think I'll have that, and I'm pretty sure we'll play this Thursday. We should play our normal Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so I should have lots of extra stuff to talk about.
That's great. Yeah, so I was going to play GCC. We're kind of working on stuff, but or we're almost done with Perils of the Purple Planet, which is really exciting. And we're talking about like what we might play next as we kind of put a bow on this. But then a bunch of players had to cancel, and so two of my friends came over, and we ended up having another session of that Freelancers board game that I really liked by Plaid Hat Games. And we played the second scenario, and we died. And I was just like, guys, this got a little more difficult kind of suddenly.
Game over, man.
And
Game
so
over.
It encourages you, like, we could go back and try it again and get new characters and things like that. And we did just have really bad luck. But again, it's Freelancers, I can't recommend it enough. It's really funny. It's got a good D&D feel, and it's a one session thing. Like, we play it, we finish it, we're good. So even though we died, we had a lot of fun, and we were laughing pretty hard. And then my goal is to have Pangea start next weekend. And so that'll be really exciting. I had one player drop out, but we replaced them with another player. So I just need to bring that guy up to speed. And then, but yeah, I was talking to my players.
Is this an at the table or is this a virtual game?
It'll be at the table.
This is an at the table. Nice.
I've decided I don't like virtual. Like the more I play, the more I'm just like, I get as a player during virtual, I get really like, oh, I'm staring at my computer. I stare at my computer all day anyway. I don't want to do this anymore. And then as a dungeon master, I get lost a lot. I don't know. It just kind of, I just want to play at a table with my friends. I'm definitely at the table.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there is. Yeah, you're right. And I think that's just how I like. So,
yeah.
But hopefully Plangea will start and then that'll be a lot of fun. So
I can't wait to hear about it because it's one of my favorite books I've read this year is that whole campaign setting. It's been really good, really creative. If you
now you got
you should find it.
Historica Arcanum to read, and that'll be your new favorite.
Well, when it comes out, I can't wait.
That'll be awesome. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. I have a Patreon, Jordan, patreon.com/Jordan with a PH in the middle. Or you can go to www.jordanwithaphinthemiddle.com and look at all the cool things that I am working on and stuff like that. October's around the corner. We'll be making shows. It's gonna be fun. I gotta do my annual Kids on Bikes game again. So
fall is the season for shows and themed games for sure. Everybody's getting inside. So everybody's planning stuff that they can do inside. The sun's going down much quicker, so there's not a lot of time to be outside. Low. Sun's getting low, buddy.
Fall asleep there, Hulky. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be here next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning RPG Show. Take care.
Bye.